Hi everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for grade 9 math. You can find all the lessons on aplusstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab. Scroll down to grade 9 math and then click on view all lessons. There you can find a list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter direct and inverse variation. The lessons we're going to cover today are find the constant of variation, write inverse variation equations, identify direct variation and inverse variation. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. Here I'm on grade 9 math. We are on right now is direct and inverse variation. Let's just start with this, and that is find the constant of variation. This graph shows how the total number of pieces Zach has learned depends on the number of weeks he has taken piano lessons. So, what is the constant of variation? You need to calculate the constant. So, basically, the constant of variation is the slope. You need to calculate the slope of the graph. So, how do you calculate? You have to find 2 points on the line, and then you have to use the formula that we use to calculate the slope, that is change in y divided by change in x. So that is, for example, here is the first point, that is 0 0, and here is the second one, that is 40 and 10. So you need to calculate change in y, that is 10 minus 0, and change in x, that is 40 minus 0. So that is 1 over 4. So let's just start with the test questions. This graph shows how the total number of souvenirs Blanca buys is related to the number of days she spent on vacation. What is the constant of variation? So here is the first point and here is the second point, right? Just use the formula that we use to calculate the slope, that is change in y. The points are 0 0 and x is 50, y is 10. So change in y is 10 minus 0 divided by 50 minus 0. So that is 10 over 5 or 1 10 over 50 or 1 over 5 that equals 0.2. So the slope of the graph is the correct option is 0.2. Option number 2 is the correct option. This graph shows how the total number of postcards Kira buys is related to the number of the days she spent on vacation. What is the constant of variation? So just select any 2 points on the graph. That is 0, 0, 5, and 3. 3 minus 0 divided by 5 minus 0, that is 3 over 5. So 3 divided by 5 equals 0.6, and option number 1 is the correct option. That is option number 1 is the correct option. The next one is the graph shows his birthday party depends on the number of guests. What variation? So just select any 2 points on the graph, use the slope formula and calculate the slope. So that is slope equals change in y divided by change in x. The points are 0, 0 and 10, 20. So that is 20 minus 0 divided by 10 minus 0. That is 20 over 10. That equals 2 over 1. So that means the constant of variation is 2. So the correct option is option number 1. This girl, this graph shows how the amount of time that a receptionist named Akash spent on the phone is related to the number of phone calls he routes to employees. What is the constant of variation? So let's just calculate the slope. Let's just calculate the slope an easier way. Just select any 2 points and make a triangle. Change in y is 1, 2, 3, 4, and change in x is 2. So the slope is m equals change in y divided by change in 2. So 4 over 2 is 2. So that means the slope of the graph is 2. Option number 2 is the correct option. This graph shows how the total number of appetizers recipes Lisa knows depends on the number of weeks she attends culinary school. What is the constant of variation? Okay, let's just calculate the slope. So let's make a triangle, right? Just select any 2 points and make a triangle like this. Hold on. Mm, this one shows the change in y, that is 3, and change in x, that is 1. So the slope is the correct option is option number 1. The slope of the constant of variation is 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let me just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is write inverse variation equations. In an inverse variation, y equals 3 when x equals 12. Write an inverse variation equation that shows the relationship between x and y. So you need to write down the equation when you are given with x and y. X is 12, y is 3. You need to find the k first, right? That is the constant of variation. So for the inverse relationship, that is k equals x times y. So k equals 12 times 3, that is 36. Now use k equals 36. So the equation is y equals 36 over x. That means xy equals 36. Inverse variation can be represented by the equation k equals yx or xy equals k. The value the variable k is known as the constant of variation and it cannot be equal to 0. Let's just start with the in an variation y equals 2 and x equals 2. Write an inverse variation equation that shows the relationship between x and y. So an inverse relationship is y equals k divided by x. So y equals 2, x equals 2. So k equals 2 times 2, that is 4. So k equals 4, right? So the equation is y equals k divided by x. We have the value of y, that is 4. So xy equals 4. The equation is that is xy equals 4. Option number 2 is the correct option. Option number 2 is the correct option. Xy equals 4. And then inverse variation y equals 2 and x equals 12. Write an inverse variation equations that shows the relationship between x and y. So the equation is y equals k divided by x. So y is 2, x is 12. So k equals 2 times 12, that is 24. So the equation is y equals k over x. K is 24. So y x times y equals 24. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is xy equals 24. Option number 1 is the correct option. In an inverse variation, y equals 4x over equals 12. That is y equals k over x. Y is 4 and x is 12. So k equals 12 times 4, that is 48. So option number 1 is the correct option. That is xy equals 48. In an inverse variation, y equals 3 when x equals 12, write an inverse variation equation that shows the relationship between x and y. So that is y equals k over x, k equals xy, right? So x is 3 and y is 12. So k equals 12 times 3, that is 36. K equals 36, so k equals xy, that is 36. So the correct option is option number 1, that is xy equals 36. Option number 1 is the correct option. In an inverse variation, y equals 2 and x equals 4. Write an inverse variation equation that shows the relationship between x and y. The correct option is y equals 8 over x. Option number 2 is the correct option. In an inverse variation, y equals 3 when x equals 6. Find and write an inverse variation equation that shows the relationship between x and y. So, which is the correct option? The correct option is xy equals 18. Option number 1 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let's just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is identify direct and inverse variations. Which graph show the direct variation? The first graph shows direct variation. There is a straight line that passes through the origin. So for the direct variation, the graph must be a straight line and passing through the origin. Let's just start with the test questions. The second graph shows inverse variation. There is a curve known as hyperbola that approaches the x but does not touch them, that approaches both the x but does not touch them. That is the inverse variation. Let's just start with the test questions. Which graph shows inverse variation? A is the correct option, that is the inverse variation. Option number A is the correct option. Which graph shows direct variation? Option number two is the B is the correct option. The graph of the di- direct variation always a straight line passing through the origin. B is the correct option. Which graph shows direct variation? Option number one, A is the correct option. That is the graph for the direct variation. A is the correct option. Which graph shows the inverse variation? B is the correct option. Which graph shows an inverse variation? A is the correct option. A is the inverse variation. Option number B shows the direct variation. Which graph shows inverse variation? B is the correct option. B shows the inverse variation. Which graph shows direct variation? A shows the direct variation. A is the correct option. Which graph shows direct variation? Which is the correct option? Option B is the correct option. Which graph shows inverse variation? B is the correct option. Okay, we are done with the lesson. So we were working on grade 9 math. Grade 9 math, we were working on the chapter direct and inverse variation. The lessons we have covered today are find the constant of variation, write inverse variation equations, identify direct variations and inverse variations. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples well. So if you need more help with any of the lesson, you can simply click on the live chat button. Tutors are available there to help you, or either you can write down the questions in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. So you can in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, then that's all for today. See you in the next session. Bye everyone.